Broadcasting from the Tazin Lake Lodge studio, this is Sporting Journal Radio. Presented by OnX. Know where you stand with OnX. Now here's your host, Brett Amundson.
Oh, looks like we got a good hatch on the box elder bugs. Oh, it's going to be a good fall, boys.
So those are the box elder bugs crawling all over the side of the house. And that means one thing, Dan, ladies and gentlemen.
Fall is here.
Fall is here. We can't be more excited about it. It's finally here. This weekend is the duck opener here in Minnesota. It's an annual tradition for us here in our family. It should be a federal holiday, in my opinion, or at least a state holiday. I know some places kids get pulled out of school for deer hunting. And obviously it's a Saturday. You don't need to get pulled out of school for the waterfowl opener. But hey, it should be recognized as a holiday. I'm so excited about it. And of course, there are some new regs and some rules for the new season this year. Of course, you don't have to quit at 4 o'clock the first week?
First 2 weeks. It was the same 2 weeks you couldn't use mojos. That's right. But, that's gone. So yeah. A lot of hunters are going to be happy about that, I'm sure.
And I don't duck hunt in the evening very often, so it wasn't a big deal for me because normally we're scouting at that time, but that's one of the rule changes this year. Of course, you can use those motorized spinning wing decoys wherever you want to, whenever you want to. And what else? Five geese per day bag limit this year. So there are some changes. Make sure you check your regs book or go to sportingjournalradio.com. We've got all the pinned right at the top. All the new regs for 2021 in Minnesota, we've got pinned right up there at the top. And of course, if you're hunting in the Dakotas or Wisconsin or Iowa, wherever you're listening to this right now, make sure you check your respective DNR or game and fish agencies over there. All right. This week got a really cool show this week. Cam Smith is going to join us. Now, Cam Smith played for the Minnesota Vikings. He was a linebacker. You may remember he got drafted in 2019 in the 5th round and then had a positive COVID test. And when he went in to get some work done or had to go deal with being this positive COVID test, they did an MRI and realized he had an enlarged heart. And ended up having open heart surgery. It was quite a story. He's going to tell us about that. And then he comes back. He goes through all the surgery. He comes back. He works his way back. Like he had doctors telling him he would never play football again. He proves them wrong, comes back, first preseason game back, gets a concussion and says, I need to reevaluate my priorities in life. So he's going to tell us about that experience, how you do dream of playing in the NFL, you make the NFL, and then you have it cut short by injury. And he's not really all that upset about it because he has found himself knee-deep in the world of waterfowl. So we're going to ask him about all of that and how it all happened and what a roller coaster of emotions it must be to go through something like that. So he's coming up a little bit later in the show. We'll also talk to Joe Henry and find out what's going on up at the Rainy River where sturgeon and walleyes, Dan, get all the attention up there. But don't overlook the smallmouth bass, and he's going to tell us how you can target them up on the Rainy River. Who's this show brought to you by this week, Dan?
Yeah, well, speaking of the Rainy River, Lake of the Woods Tourism sponsors this week's show again. Plan a trip to Lake of the Woods at lakeofthewoodsmn.com. Ottertail Lakes Country, find your inner otter at ottertaillakescountry.com. I'll be headed up there this weekend. OnX Hunt, know where you stand with OnX. Haybale Heights Campground and Resort on Devil's Lake. Plan a trip to Devil's Lake at haybaleheights.com. Prairie Sportsman, watch episodes anytime at prairiesportsman.org. Mid-Migration Outfitters, hunt geese at the famous Lacaparo Refuge in heated pits and comfortable blinds. Learn more at midmigrationoutfitters.com. And Tazin Lake Lodge, plan a trip of a lifetime to catch giant lake trout and pike at tazinlake.com.
Now, if you're going to be out chasing ducks and geese around and you shoot some of those big Canada geese, we have got some tips for you. Do not waste any of the meat on those birds, all right? And when I say don't waste meat, I'm talking about the legs.
When it comes to the legs, they get a little bit tricky. So what I will do is, if you can see here, I'll pull the skin up like this and get right on top of the knee. That's the knee down here, and there's some good meat here. So I'll get my blade, turn it up, get underneath there, and then I try to come up like this. And I split that so that I can start peeling it down the sides. And when you peel this skin off the sides here, especially on these sides, there's a lot of meat down in here, and if you peel too hard, it'll start pulling the meat off that bone, and you don't want to do that, obviously. So start peeling her down here. You can do some of this by hand. You can get a good grip here and you can start pulling it like so. And once you get to this point, once you got enough of the skin peeled back, because this is the key right here, is getting that skin peeled back so that you're able to cut this without having to deal with the skin. If you leave too much skin, it gets real hard to cut, and then you get frustrated because you're cutting the wrong place and you can't see what you're doing. So you get it like that, and then the other little trick is we're gonna pop this hip bone out of the socket. So there's a bone here from the leg. It goes up into the hip right here. And you can just pop this guy like so. Sometimes you got to cut into it just a hair.
Or go to the gym.
I'll go to the gym, yeah. So you can see that I already got the bone popped out of there, but I just got to cut through some of that meat. There you can see that bone going into that hip socket right there, and it's just, you can get in there with a knife if you want and pop her out like if you were butchering a deer, but you can just generally pop it out and then get your knife between there and start cutting that away. And if you got your skin peeled back far enough, you'll be able to pull that out just like that. So now we got our leg and our thigh meat here. And the next step is to remove the foot. So I always will kind of pull this feathers off here. If you pull the skin down like this, a lot of times this hard scaly skin will come down right over this knee joint.
So there's a little part of how to clean a Canada goose leg, or how to clean the legs off Canada geese. You can watch the full video on the Sporting Journal Radio Facebook or YouTube channel. And Dan, we got a couple of new projects coming. We've been talking about these for a while, kind of teasing these a little bit for quite a while. It's finally here. Here's a little sneak peek of the first episode of Raising Tiny. You know from the beginning that they're not going to be with us forever. But that doesn't make it any easier.
The end of the world at the palm of my hand.
One of the best parts of hunting is watching the dog work.
When it all goes to hell, will you still be my friend?
One of the worst parts of hunting
Come on.
My face to the sea
is watching that dog get old. And this dog right here, she's been my life.
If you can't come with me, I'll understand. I'll understand.
So it's been tough to go out and get a new dog. But it's time.
Can we meet in the dark? We don't have to say much. And if you have to go, if we didn't know what we know.
While it isn't always easy, it's always worth it. This is a story about the highs and the lows of raising a gun dog. And I mean, that's not all. We got Raising Tiny, and then we got a brand new waterfowl podcast coming, the North American Waterfowl. Here's a little sample of that. Make sure you follow North American Waterfowl, subscribe to the podcast, or follow us on Instagram or Facebook.
And now your host, Brett Amundson.
Banded birds. They're considered trophies in the waterfowl world. Hunters young and old proudly wrap them around their call lanyards or display them on the leg of a prominent mount in their house. Some casually toss them in a drawer or neglect to even check the legs of harvested birds. Regardless of your views on the symbolic value of the small piece of metal, the numbers inscribed hold a wealth of information that's vital to the longevity of various waterfowl species and the regulations those of us that hunt them have to follow. While I've been able to collect a few bands over the years, I enjoy learning more about the research that comes from these bands. Most of the time, the data comes after the bird has died, usually at the hands of a hunter, who then has a great story to tell.
Oh, nice!
I've been a part of some of those good stories, and I've heard some even better ones, some more unbelievable than the next. It made me want to find out what's the craziest band story out there. All right, former linebacker for the Minnesota Vikings, Cam Smith, is going to be joining us in a few minutes. Also, Joe Henry to talk smallmouth fishing. And we got back from Michigan. We had a big trip out there. You heard us talk about it a lot on the show. We've got more in a video packed up neatly for you that we're going to show you when we come back.
Northern Minnesota's Walleye Factory is a year-round world-class fishing destination. The perfect getaway this summer is just a short drive to Lake of the Woods. Fish Big Traverse Bay, the Rainy River, or visit the unique Northwest Angle. To catch big fish, you have to go where the big fish are. Plan your trip to Lake of the Woods at lakeofthewoodsmn.com. That's lakeofthewoodsmn.com.
Road trip!
Now, a couple of years ago, we were up at Lake of the Woods, and we filmed a couple shows for Prairie Sportsman. We did a cast and blast, so we shot a bunch of Canada geese, we caught a bunch of walleyes on the lake, and I met a bunch of people from Aglow. Aglow is the Association of Great Lakes Outdoor Riders. It's a bunch of cool dudes who create all this outdoor content, from written pieces like articles in magazines, newspapers, to TV shows, radio shows, podcasts, things like that, all about the outdoor opportunities that you may not know about, so you can learn about them and go experience them for yourselves. Well, each year Aglow has this conference in different parts of the region, and this year it's in Gaylord, Michigan.
Come on, we must have fun.
But they're going to take us grouse hunting. They're going to take us brook trout fishing. We got the pups with along. Tiny and Mika are with us, and they can't come. So we're on our way to the Twin Cities first. We're going to see my parents. Dan Amundson's behind the camera there. We're going to go see Dan's parents, and we're going to drop the pups off, spend the night there. So we got a little bit of a shorter trip, and then we're heading to Michigan tomorrow. Let's go! Woo-hoo!
Come on, we must have fun. Every day we saying that things is hard. Yes, we know that things really hard. Due to how no money now run. But come along, make we have some fun.
Well, I had a great time with the parents here tonight, and Dan got to see his parents. That's my brother Wade and his wife Chris. And now we're going to say goodbye to the puppies in the morning and head to Michigan.
All right, so there you go. That's just a portion of that video. You can see the whole video on the Sporting Journal Radio Facebook page or YouTube channel, so go check it out. Our next guest you saw in that video, Joe Henry from Lake of the Woods Tourism. Joe, we had a great time up in Michigan. And I don't know if we couldn't show all the shenanigans in that video, of course, but it was mostly business. We got a lot of work done while we were there, but that's a trip where you have a lot of fun while you're up there too.
Well, the reason you couldn't show everything is this is a PG show.
Right. Well,
all kidding aside, I'll tell you what though, all kidding aside, we were just talking about it off air. It's that Aglow conference is such a good conference for so many reasons, but it's tiring. It's a long way, with long ways to Michigan certainly, But then, you're up late networking, as they call it, and you're up early and you're at meetings and stuff all day, and you don't want to miss the meetings and the seminars because there's some really good topics, and it ends up being a long week. But boy, talk about a good week, eh?
It was a lot of fun. And Dan, we're making plans for next year because it was kind of a last minute decision for us to come out there. So we ended up having to take this show and a lot of our work on the road with us. And we missed some of those seminars to do some recording for the radio show or this show, whatever. We need to figure out what we're calling this show, just the show. Cause it's not just radio anymore. It's, it started as a radio show. So we had to do a lot of that. So we missed a lot of those things. So next year, I think we're going to have to I don't know, I like doing the show there though. So I don't know what we're going to do yet, Joe, but we're going to have to get a lot of work done before we get there so we can take part in a lot of those seminars.
Well, just make sure you get there. I thought it was kind of cool too, because look at some of the guests who not only you had on the show there, but look at some of the guests whom you made contact with that you'll have on a future time. Yeah. I just thought the very interesting people, these conferences, and what are some great connections, I guess. I mean, just really good.
Well, and you're right, and you told me about that. It's a good chance to network with a lot of people, and some of those networking efforts are already paying dividends. I was very jealous. I got to go with some of the girls. They wanted to do a little bit of fly fishing on the nearby river there near Grayling, which I think is hilarious because I'm pretty sure that's where Camp Grayling is, right? The military base. And I work with Camp Grayling in Saskatchewan, and they have campgrayling.com. And I had to register Fish Camp Grayling for the guys in Saskatchewan because I had to do battle. So I thought about knocking on the door of the military base and being like, "Hey, give me that domain name," and just see how long I last. Anyway, we got to do. They got to do some fishing. I mainly just filmed and took pictures of them, but there were some pretty good fishing opportunities there and some grouse hunting opportunities that I missed out on. And Joe, it may be fall, but I'm not ready to give up on fishing yet for the season.
Well, I'll tell you, up on Lake of the Woods, man, the fishing right now is just so good. And, people are whacking them on the lake and they're also getting them in the river now. Those shiners are running pretty thick and, it's always intermittent. It's not every night, but boy, there's enough shiners in the river now. And I've spoken to enough anglers who've had some really, really good, walleye fishing on that Rainy River. Yeah, I think too is the sturgeon are starting to bite a little bit. So I shouldn't say a little bit. They're starting to eat. They're kind of putting the fall feed bag on also. So it's been pretty darn good.
So, Joe, I might have a trip in the works here. We're still working out the details, but I might be going up there here in October to chase smallmouth on the Rainy River. And you don't hear about smallies that much up there on the Rainy.
Well, I tell you, I tried talking about them a lot, but they get so just shadowed by the walleye fishing and then sturgeon and then muskies. Smallmouth are low in the. But I'll tell you something. You talk to the locals up there or talk to people that fish Lake of the Woods or the Rainy River a lot, and they'll tell you about the footballs that live in that water, and they don't get the love. They don't get the attention. We did what was called a scatter challenge.
I remember that.
Yeah, that was about 10 years ago or so, maybe 9 years ago. And I'll tell you what, we worked shorelines with those scatter apps. And all we could use was a Rapala scatter app. And I'll tell you what, man, that gold Albernis color in that stained water of Lake of the Woods and the Rainy River, we were up in the islands area. We got, myself and Mark Fisher of Rapala at the time, we were bummed out because our time ran out for the day when we had to quit, and we only had 94 fish. 94 fish. Most of them were smallies, some walleyes, some pike. And we had a couple musky follows. And then we ended up fishing a different day together on the Rainy River. And we found those smallmouth again. And we didn't get those kind of numbers, but I'll tell you what, we found some really nice fish. And it was really cool because we were just working a shoreline. I'd never fished before. And there were some boulders along shore. And those fish were in about 3-4 feet of water behind each boulder. There's just scattered boulders along this, almost like this farmyard. And we were just pitching our cranks behind those boulders. And actually, they're using them for a current break. But I mean, there's a lot of big smallmouth in that Rainy River. So I'm excited for you to go up there. I just think it's going to be fun.
Yeah, I haven't done it before. I'm looking forward to trying it, especially in the fall, and maybe accidentally catch one of those big giant walleyes while we're at it too. I get more excited about the walleyes, but it's kind of a business /work/fun trip. So I'm going to try to catch some smallmouth, get some pictures of some smallmouth, and then hopefully accidentally catch a big walleye.
Well, I'll tell you what, when you're fishing those smallies, you're fishing bridge embaitments, you're fishing rock, you're fishing current breaks, you're fishing weed lines, whatever you're pitching, everything lives there, especially because of stained water. Those walleyes and such will live in that shallower water too. So, I'm excited to see what you pull in.
Well, Joe, if people want to go up there and learn a little bit more about the Rainy River or the lake or the Northwest Angle, what should they do for more info?
You know what? Check out the Lake of the Woods Tourism's Facebook or Instagram page. Otherwise, check out our website, and that is lakeofthewoodsmn.com.
852 million acres of public land, 147 million private properties, all in the palm of your hand. The #1 hunting GPS app just got better. With hundreds of custom map layers, 3D and topographic maps, you can easily scout on the road or at home before you go. And now you can get important weather details, CWD detection, and even know what crops have been planted where. Get the most trusted hunting GPS app ever made. OnX. Know where you stand with OnX.
All right, our next guest is Cam Smith. He was drafted by the Minnesota Vikings in 2019 in the 5th round. He's a linebacker, and then announced in August of 2020 that he needed open heart surgery. Holy smokes. And how he found that out, that's quite a story we'll ask him about too. He returned briefly in 2021, only to announce his retirement from football shortly after that. What happened? What's he doing now? Well, since he's on this show, I bet it has something to do with hunting and fishing. So we're going to find out. He joins us now here. Cam Smith, thanks for being on the show with us.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Appreciate it. I'm excited to be here.
How are you doing? Everything good health-wise?
Everything's great. Yeah, I mean, we picked up and we just changed our lives drastically. So that little bit of life that's kind of unknown, it's kind of, what are we doing next makes it a little bit uneasy, but for the most part and for every other aspect of it, life is great. I mean, my girlfriend and I live out in Texas, and we're just, we're enjoying life again. We're going out and chasing what we want to do. So that's exciting.
Texas, man, that'd be a fun state to live in. I'm a little jealous. I mean, I like where I'm at. I like being up here in the north, but Texas is a fun state. And let's talk about, the last year or two. I mean, what a crazy time in the world, first of all, but you had some curveballs thrown in there as well, throwing some open heart surgery. I think you got a lot of us beat in the craziness. Tell us what happened.
It was all due to COVID. We came back on July 21st, I believe it was, and of 2020. We had to do 3 COVID tests in a row and test negative for all of them, and then we could step foot in the building. So the first one, I get tested, and we're just kind of going throughout the rest of the day. I'm going to work out after, and there was like a kind of an app type deal where it would go on and show your results. So I'm looking at it, and it's like positive. Does that mean, there was an antibodies part and then the COVID test part? And I was like, all right, positive. So maybe I had it. I was on Big Island for the 4th of July. So, maybe that was where I got it, and now I'm good or whatever.
You can catch a lot of things on Big Island on the 4th of July.
That you can do right there. So, I mean, I was around a bunch of people, and they're like, "Oh, I think you're reading that wrong. I think you have COVID currently." And I was like, "All right, well, that's not good." So come back the next day, test negative for both. Following day, negative again. Following day, negative again. So I'm all right, cool. They're like, all right, come in and go through your our physicals, and you'll be ready to go day 1. So I'm like, cool. Go through. You get the entire physical is EKG, hearing, sight, full body physical, and get the EKG, and then part of testing positive for COVID, you have to go in and get an echocardiogram. So they send me in that following day. I go get an echo, and I come back, and our head trainer, Eric Sugarman's like, "We need you to get an MRI." Okay, interesting. So I go get the MRI, and then when I come back, they tell me that we're pretty concerned. Your heart is 3 times the size of a normal heart. It showed that I had a bicuspid aortic valve, so I had 2 flaps. One of the valves that push blood throughout the rest of my body from my heart normally has 3, like kind of like a peace sign looking deal. Mine only had 2, and then one of the flaps was longer than the other one. So when it would clamp to stop the blood, it would slide, and blood would be regurgitating back into my heart. Well, The very first doctor, the very first cardiologist I went and saw in Minneapolis, she looked at me like, yeah, football's done. Like, you need a mechanical valve. You're going to be on blood thinners for the rest of your life. And I was like,
Whoa.
blood thinners? Like, you can't do anything on that, right? She goes, no, like, your whole life is going to be totally different. I go, no, it's not. Like, I'm not going to be on blood thinners for the rest of my life. And football's not done either. So, luckily, the following day, John Dornbos, he played in New Orleans for 16 years and then got traded to Philadelphia. And he actually was found out that he had the exact same bicuspid aortic valve than I did. And then he had an aneurysm and his was a lot more severe. He was a little bit older. So he reached out and he said, here's the surgeon that I use. This is the guy you want. It's the only person you want. And so I got on a FaceTime with that heart surgeon, like the following day, or even maybe it was that day. And he looked at me like, I've worked on baseball players. I've worked on fighter jet pilots. I've worked on basketball players. And all of them have returned to play the sport that they want. I will do the same for you. I was like, cool. Like, I like that you not only want to fix me and make me better, but you also want to make me better. Like, you're not trying to just change my life forever, make me some, low life person who can't even leave the house. If I fall, then I die. So I thought that was really, really cool. And I liked that our mindsets were on the same page, where he was trying to get me to live like a 24-year-old active adult that I was. So I met with him out of Philadelphia. He did the surgery, and within I think it was 2 weeks prior to that, to the surgery, like, my heart had already been back down to its original size. All I was waiting for was my sternum bone to heal, and after that, like, I worked from January through the start of fall camp. Just worked to get back and worked to try and play football again, and successfully did so. And yeah, so I'm definitely one of probably the only cases where I can say that COVID saved my life. If I didn't test positive for COVID that one time, which I'm still thinking it's a false positive because I don't remember ever having it. But without that, who knows when I would have played through the whole year. Who knows if I would have died, or I would have died at a pretty young age, and because of this. And yeah, my life is totally different because of it.
What could have happened? I mean, if they hadn't caught that, what could have happened?
So I asked him, I said, can I maybe monitor this and like play through the year and then get the surgery at the end of the year? I was like, this is a pretty big year for, every year in the NFL is a big year, but I'm like, I'd like to be able to try and play if I can. Like, yeah, we could maybe monitor it and you could maybe make the season, or they would look over and you would be dead on the field. Huh. Like, not like, oh, get him to the hospital. Like, you'd be dead. Like, within seconds, you would be dead. So probably not worth it. We'll just get the surgery and do that. So, luckily the Vikings organization is just top notch, and they just supported me through the whole thing, stood by my side, and made the whole situation easier, and allowed me to, to stay around the team the whole year and come back for the following training camp. And I owe a lot to them. They stood by me in an industry where that's not very common.
Sure. So then you come back, and in fact, Dan was at the game, the first game, that preseason game where you came back, and then you suffered an injury in that game.
Mm-hmm.
Tell us about that.
Well, I had in like May, I was like, all right, I've been doing a lot to get back to this game. Like, I'm putting a lot on my body to try and play a game, that it's a little bit different for me. Like, we got a lot invested in this, and I still love the game, and I love being around the guys and stuff like that. But when I got the concussion, it just made me think, like, all right, like, I just had open heart surgery, And they say my sternum bone is stronger than it was before because I'm tied together with fish wire, and I'm like, all right, I should be fine there. But then when I get the concussion, I was like, I got a lot more outside of life that I want to live. It's always been a dream to run around with my kids, remember their names, like just some serious things that get risked playing the game of football. And so when I got the concussion, that was the first documented concussion that I've ever had. And I felt like, I was like, if this is a concussion, like I've had a lot of these, let's be real. Like this, if we're going to call this concussion where I hit my head and I saw some stars, I'm like, you, as a football player, it's different saying it now because I'm now like, like I'm not part of the game, like in a way anymore. But I'm like, I've seen stars and hit my head so hard that, on a every other week basis for since I was probably more so like sophomore year of high school. Like since then, it's been, my head's been, you're in car accidents, especially at linebacker, 45 plays a game. Like every play I'm running into somebody else.
Collision.
So that just kind of, it's head-on-head collisions with guys that are 300 pounds, like, or a mean 240, a Dalvin Cook, a CJ Ham that are running really hard. I'm like, I don't know if this is it for me anymore. Like like I said, I had a lot of other stuff outside of the game that I was so ready to live in a way that I was like, I think this is it. And it's I don't know, I'm happy I'm happy that I'm here where I am now without having some serious, I guess you'll never know. We'll never know if we had like serious injuries because even the CTE stuff, they can't tell until you're dead. So, but I'm glad to be here right now and have got the opportunity to play for such a great organization like the Vikings. Got to follow my dreams, and it was such a great opportunity, such a great, it was a great life that I lived for just playing football through it all. And now it's time to move on and follow dreams and follow the passions that are, sorry if I'm rambling, but football is a passion. And for me, it was a passion that became a job, and it's a job that asks a lot of you. And even though it's only 6 months and people look at it like, what a great life, man. You only work for 6 months. You work 365 days a year. You're working out. Everything you do revolves around the game of football. What you eat, how you work out, the people you hang out with. It's constantly thinking about a job. And then for that 6 months, it's the most daunting tasks that someone can ask you to do, running into another human being full speed.
Yeah. I don't know.
With fans, other people that have never played football before criticizing you. It's a lot. It took a toll on me. I was like, this is not the same.
Yeah. Man, first of all, let us say we're glad you're still here too. I get it. The dream of playing the NFL. We both played high school football, well, obviously not the same level, but you fall in love with it, and you dream of playing in the NFL someday, and to have it cut short with an injury, it sucks. I get it, but that game is so rough, and you hear so many horror stories now about guys that have been playing for a long time, especially with concussion issues and things like that. That there is more to life than football. And I'm sure you've talked about football a lot. So I want to get away from football a little bit and talk about something that's near and dear to our hearts and sounds like yours too. And that's waterfowl and duck hunting. Because it sounds like you're jumping into that world, especially not just with the shotgun, but with the camera too. And I want to find out where all of that came from. So let's just go back to the beginning and let's talk about, you're from California. Is that right?
Yeah. Just 20 minutes northeast of Sacramento. So it's a little bit more rural up there. And then we're about an hour and a half south of Chico in like the Butte Sink area, where is some prime duck hunting. It's some people that don't, they think the Arkansas timber and the North Dakota and South Dakota, like the drive cornfield hunts, like that's it. It is. Those are every Californian would say, I want to hunt there.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of people that see what California does, and we shoot well, and like it's a different type of, just another different type of hunting.
I had no idea. And then we've got some relatives that live in California, and I was talking to him one year at Christmas or whatever, and he said, hey, anytime you want to come shoot ducks in the desert, let me know. And I was like, duck hunting, like California. And then I did a little bit of research, and Dan, maybe you can pull it up, but I didn't realize just how many duck hunters and how many ducks get shot each year in California. Like duck hunting in California is a big deal.
Yeah, I started duck hunting like my freshman or sophomore year of high school. My dad wasn't ever really into it. My grandpa did a little bit, but he definitely fished a lot more. My dad is a good fisherman, and then I'd wanted to get my hunting license early, like 10 years old, and I just never had anyone to really do it. And then like one of my mom's best friend's husband duck hunted a little bit, and I always talked about it, and then I just never really did it because I was young, never really had anybody that I thought would take me, kind of thing. So then a lot of my friends in high school, they hunted, and they were pretty successful too, and I just jumped on there, kind of just jumped in and tried to make I think it's hard to, in any outdoorsman activity, it's really hard to just jump into something if you haven't had a father, grandfather,
for sure,
somebody teaching you at a young age. And so when I jumped in and realized, wow, I love this, and this is something that I've known I wanted to do for a really long time, and finally I'm doing it, I jumped in really hard. And a lot of it's hard playing football too, because
it's the fall.
You only get so much time to hunt.
Yeah, right.
And so through my time at like SC, every opportunity I'd have off, I'd just jet up north. And so, but throughout the last 5 years, or 6 years of between college and then in the NFL, I lived all my duck hunting through Instagram and YouTube. People will be like, hey, did you seen that video 5 times already? Like that, because when I'm in Los Angeles, I'm like, where am I going to go hunt?
Yeah.
Like the only time I can go is when I get a day off. So, but I just started learning a ton just through the Instagram, and just really started like diving in really hard. And then, so that was kind of how it all started. And then again, I fell in love with it, and it, in a way, has taken me through from one profession. I don't want to say I gave up my NFL career to dive into this industry, but in a way I did. Like I want, it's something that I just really enjoy doing, and it creates more of that Friday Night Lights high school football feel than it was playing on a Saturday or Sunday.
Dude, I don't have the same story, and I'll just tell this real quick, but I was a radio guy for a long time, and it's the same kind of thing. It kind of consumed my entire life. And I actually lived in North Dakota and didn't buy a hunting license for 5 years just because I was working all the time. And I lived in Fargo, and our AM station, KFGO, our AM station was the flagship for NDSU, for the Bison football team up there. Won a bunch of national championships, good football program. The tailgating was insane. The entire city would come out for it. Well, I'd sit there on a Saturday morning, throwing out T-shirts to drunk college kids where all my buddies were shooting mallards in cornfields. And I'm like, something is wrong with this picture. And that eventually led me to where I am, because I ended up getting out of that job and kind of focusing on outdoor radio instead. And now I can do my radio show while I'm in the field shooting mallards. So waterfowling has that effect on people. And man, once you fall for it, you fall for it pretty hard. When you got drafted by the Vikings, was hunting, was that part of that at all? Were you excited to come to Minnesota?
Absolutely. But then I had those same thoughts of, we're going to miss, like, it's hard being in Minneapolis during this time.
Yeah,
like
it's hard being in Minneapolis
and
all the time. Let's be honest.
But the best thing about playing in California was the season ends the end of January.
Oh.
So I'd have 4 weeks to hunt really hard after the season, and then all the way into early season or late season goose. And when I got drafted to Minnesota, I was like, the season in the whole northern region is the prime of our regular season. So it's like, I don't know how much I'm gonna get this done. I hunted, well, not including my open heart surgery because I couldn't shoot a gun. I hunted 3 times in Minnesota, and I was there for 2 years.
Ouch.
So, it was not the most ideal situation.
So not only hunting, but you got into the photography side of waterfowl as well, and probably the outdoors in general. I think taking pictures of ducks is probably my favorite, partly because of all the colors, also just the challenge of capturing the waterfowl in flight, and then just the surroundings that you put yourself in when you're taking pictures of ducks. What got you into waterfowl photography?
So I reference this kid a lot because it was really the way he started. He kind of opened my eyes to what was actually going on in the hunting industry. His name is Brandon Feen. He's out of Butte Sink area.
Sure.
And I think he's 19, 20 years old maybe. He's shooting in Nebraska at I forget the outfitter, but he's phenomenal. He's a great. I mean, I was again living through Instagram, seeing these people posting pictures, and I realized, wow, this industry, this photography, the photography has drastically grown in the hunting industry. Not just wildlife photography, but like just hunting in general. People are like, wow, I can pick up a camera, and the cameras these days are not complicated at all.
Mm-hmm.
A mirrorless camera, you see everything you want out of your viewfinder, and like all you do is understand the camera system a little bit, and then understand Lightroom, and you're set. And so that was, I think it was probably 4.5, 5 years ago, where I really dove into it, and I felt like I just wanted to capture these hunts and our memories in different ways than just a little snapshot on my phone. So I dove in hard, and it was right at the end of my college career, and I started making money, and I dove into it really hard, and then it's been a little bit of an inconvenience during the season, because I'd be able to take pictures for, a month and a half or 2 months, and then I'd have to put it down. And so I felt like right when I was getting the season going again, I was like, it took me 2 or 3 times to get comfortable with my cameras again, and just kind of figure it out again. So now I'm just really excited to be able to do it like as much as I want to.
Heck yeah. What are you shooting?
I shoot a Canon R6, a couple different bodies.
That's what we're filming this with, is an R6 right now.
Is it?
It's a great camera.
Yeah, it is. I bounced around a lot. I started on a Canon 60 Mark II, and then I went through Sony, and because I was like, oh, I'm gonna go, because Canon was so late to the party of mirrorless cameras, and Sony was running it, and still is. A lot of people would say they are running the tables. Like, it's the options that they offer from everything you need, and I have some complaints right now with Canon, but in the end, like, I think it's the most user friendly. I think I love just like the interface, how the menu system works, how it feels in my hand, and I just didn't like Sony. Like I shot this. I had a Sony A7R4 and then an A9, and I just, if my hand is so big and it's just so uncomfortable, and I traded all my lenses in both my bodies, and I'm like trying to slowly I'm such a gearhead in every aspect of life that I'm trying to just do with what I need right now. And like, I'm probably I need a couple new lenses and 2 more bodies, but for right now, it's like, let's just do with what I have and have fun doing it. And it'll be enough.
Yeah. The R6 is amazing. Like I'm getting into more filming. I was shooting Nikons for stills, and then I was getting into more filming. So I bought a Panasonic GH5, which is a really great video camera. Stills on it aren't the best. And I took a trip with Corey Loeffler. It was during the debut of the Sitka white suits for snow goose hunting. We took a trip down to Texas and back and hunted all the way down and filmed the whole thing. And I was trying to take pictures. The old dog running through shallow water to retrieve a duck pick. And I was so excited to take that photo, and I just could not get it with the GH5. And Corey had his R6 with, and I'm like, let me see that camera. And once I started, I didn't want to give it back to him. And I literally went out and bought one then after I got back. So we're filming with Dan's on the GH5 and I'm on the R6 right now. They're still both good video cameras, but the R6 is just unreal. And the other day, actually, we were filming a goose hunt, and I almost sank it. I almost put it underwater. Like, fell over in my waders in the water. It was like waist deep, and I'm completely underwater except my hand. It's like pushing the sword. Was the lady in the lake, the sword coming out of the water, and it was like holding the camera up over the surface of the water and sacrificing the rest of my body because it gets a little I put that camera in situations I probably shouldn't.
So I during last year, I was shooting a lot of wildlife photography, again, because I couldn't shoot a gun and I was still around the team, and walking around in Minnesota. And I don't know, I mean, it must in the March water, it must be because like California, it dries up, and I'm in Minnesota, it doesn't. So there was a few times I was just in a couple closed zones, just like trying to make it easy on myself. And I walked in, and I had a pair of muck boots on. Like, I didn't even have waders on or anything. It was that exact day. And I stepped foot, and I sank down to my quad on both feet, on both legs, and my muck boots were completely stuck, and I leaned back, and I was my head, chest, everything was fully underwater, and I just had my camera just like how you described it. And I was like, and I walked like a mile and a half back, soaking wet, like, I mean, disgusting. And I was like, at least I still have this.
Save the camera. Yeah, you can. It's a lot easier to dry your clothes off than it is an R6. So,
yeah,
man. So when you got interested in photography, obviously you wanted to take pictures of what you're doing out there. But was there a photo that you saw one day, and maybe it was one of Brandon's? Do you remember seeing a picture and saying, "I want to take that picture," or "I want to get into photography because of that photo right there," and try to find a way to take that picture?
So there's a few that come to my mind of a picture that, like, early on in my career, where I was like, this is why I want to do it. This is what drew me to this entire thing. And since then, I'm sure you know who Lee Chose is.
Yeah. Matter of fact, I've got him in the notes. I was going to ask you a question about Lee Chose, as a matter of fact.
Yeah, so I talked to him at the game fair a couple weeks ago, and I was over there sitting in the boss tent, talking to him, and he pulled out this book of everything he's done. And I was like, and the greatest part about him is, like, being an older head. Social media wasn't his. Right. It's really his thing. He even described it like, I don't really care about social media. And I sat there and I was like, people don't even know who you are, and yet you can pull out this book, and everything that if you're a duck hunter, everything
you've seen his work
some day, like, or in a daily basis of being in Sportsman's Warehouse, Shields, wherever you want to go, you're going to see something that he's taken a picture of.
Yeah.
And on a heavy seal or all the Benelli stuff, it's like, this guy is the best. I mean, he's probably one of the greatest to ever do it. And I talked to him. I was like, so where'd you like, did you have any inspiration? And he answered no. He goes, the inspiration I got was from like old school like painters.
Yeah.
And I walked away and I go, that is such an insane response, because I get a lot of inspiration from people. I find it from, I mean, I have on my photography Instagram, it's all just filled up with different photographers and just to get inspiration, but also do my own thing and just to see what people are doing and all that stuff. But when I responded that, I was like, I walked away like, just feel different. Like it's what you were born to do in a way.
Yeah.
So, but to answer your question, I think earlier on I'd have to go through some pages, but there's a bunch of different pictures that I've saved and just like, wow, this is early, especially more so early on, because now I feel like I kind of am understanding what my style is and what I want to do and who I am. But early on, definitely, like I could pull out 10 pictures of just different photographers. And I'm like, this is the reason why, or what I wanted to capture when I got to the end result. So,
well, I wonder how many people Lee chose as inspired to pick up a camera, because I don't know how many times I've tried to take a picture of a dog retrieving a duck with that splash in water, kind of like what I was talking about earlier, and it's because of Lee Chose. And when I had him on this show, and he told me that he couldn't even remember how many times he's had a photo on the cover of a magazine. He goes, I don't know, 150 something or other, probably more than that. Like, man, bow to the king. The guy is good at it, and has probably inspired a lot of people. So you hunted with Tony Van. Was it recently, or you've hunted down at Habitat Flats before?
Yeah, so my dog is at Habitat Flats Kennels right now. So I reached out again through my time spent on YouTube. I think they had posted the video for 3 hours, and it was Tony and Clint. Clint is the head trainer, or however you want to title it, at HFK, and they were talking about starting a kennel. And I originally had my dog elsewhere, and she was with me for just right after I had open heart surgery. And I called him up and I said, hey, in my head, I'm like, however I can get to be a part of this organization in some way, I'm going to try my best. And I reached out, and Clinton has become a real good buddy of mine. And I got to hunt dove opener with Tony and some of the other owners of Habitat Flats, and it's become a place where I'll spend most of my, like, I'll go up there for their opening day, check on my dog. I've spent a lot of time over there. So but anyway, it started as, in a way, a business move of like just going to shake some hands and trying to meet some people. And now it's got friendships involved, and it's got relationships, and they're just such great people over there. And I'm thankful to have my dog there. And so, yeah. But hunting with Tony was a great experience, to say the least.
I'm sure that's a nice organization there. Where else have you traveled for a waterfowl trip, or where else would you like to go?
Oh, well, the bucket list is long. I've hunted in, it's really only been Missouri, Minnesota, and then California, and then into Oregon as well. But Idaho's on the list. Last time I was at the kennel, a guy named Cody Reynolds, who runs Yellowbone Retrievers out of Arkansas. So we've been talking a lot about trying to push over there. I want to get in the timber. That's definitely a bucket list goal. And then I've been reaching out to and talking with Falco out of Oklahoma. That's another bucket list. And obviously, dudes. Yeah, he got back to me quickly, and they're also Minnesota natives. And it's funny, when I first got to Minnesota, I realized I never realized how many different ties there are back to that state. Like, I mean, I was in San Diego 2 years ago, And there was like a full-on Vikings bar. I was like, wow, this is cool. And then a lot of people that I've tied through or met through after I've left in the last 2 months of like, oh yeah, we're originally from Minnesota, we're huge Vikings fans, or blah blah blah. And I'm like, this is crazy. It's there, it branches out. But and then obviously the Dakotas are up there. I'll hunt anywhere. I mean,
heck yeah.
And everywhere, Canada.
You need to get Saskatchewan on your list for sure.
That's absolutely.
So
I think that's a bucket list for 95% of duck hunters.
That video is from we stopped at Falco on our way down to Texas. So there's JD Blagg right there. And this is some of the stuff I filmed down there with Corey on our way down there. Falco's a cool place, man. Good dudes.
Yeah.
But I want to ask you one more question. I know we've had you on for a long time here. I want to ask you one more question about the outdoors in the NFL. And what was it like in the locker room? You know, you don't hear a lot about pro sport athletes that like to hunt and fish. You hear about a few. Brian Robinson likes to fish. So you hear about a few of those guys. But what was the reaction like when you'd be in the locker room talking with guys and they'd be talking about what, I don't know, cars or going to the club or whatever. And you'd say, man, I got a new 12 gauge. You know, what was the reaction like?
It just kind of depends on who you're talking to. A guy like Eric Kendricks, who I consider a great buddy of mine, like he'll eat up on other people's passions. Like he loves it. He loves hearing what other people are into. And that guy is the most passionate person and loves cars. He loves and is so knowledgeable about them that's just what that's what gets his blood boiling. Like he loves it. And so we would share, you know, our passions for it. I'd talk to him about photography. He would do all this, like ask questions. He's just a cool, genuine dude. And then there's some people who will hear me talk about it and they'll move on. And it's like, yeah, it's like, you know, a form of, if somebody was talking to me about Yu-Gi-Oh cards, like I'd be like, oh, I don't really know anything about it. Like I'm just gonna move on. Yeah. It has a same, and I thought that I was gonna move, you know, go into the NFL and find a lot of people that were into it, and there's really not. I think there was 2 people on the team in my 2.5 years there that hunted a little bit, and most of them were pheasant hunters or upland hunters. Like, sure. So, and then, you know, I'm hearing about Chad Greenway, and I'm like, man, I just missed him. Like, what a great person, you know, from South Dakota. Yeah. Loves a duck hunt. It's like, oh, that would have been a great person to be around. And I've been in contact with Brian Robertson a little bit, and I'm picking up on bass fishing a lot in the last 2 years. I love it. So we've kind of been talking a little bit, but yeah, people are just, you know, something that, again, that's so unfamiliar with people. Yeah. If you're not bored into it, it's hard to get into. For sure. And hard to listen to people about it. It's just a different lifestyle.
Absolutely. Well, all right, man. We'll let you get back there. I appreciate the time. If you ever get up to Minnesota, you want to do some hunting, let me know. We'll go chase some ducks and geese around. And tell everybody where we can find you on social media.
Yeah, my photography Instagram is cam.smith.photo. I've played with some names around there, and it will probably change a lot. But it's also in my my regular Instagram bio. My regular Instagram is _killicam. So yeah, you can find that there. Yeah, so hopefully it'll be growing here pretty soon, and like I said, it's something I'm chasing and gonna do everything I can to get my, you know, to do what I want to do for the rest of my life and do something that I love. So yeah.
For sure, man. Well, if you were listening to this on the radio station, you can catch more of this interview on our YouTube or Facebook channel. Cam Smith, glad you're doing well health-wise. Good luck in the waterfowl world, man. It's you'll love it. It's so much fun. You already do, but you'll love it. And thanks for the time today on the show.
All right, thank you so much. You guys take care.
Devil's Lake is legendary, and this summer has been legendary for walleyes. Don't miss out. Call Haybale Heights Campground and Resort today to book one of their modern cabins on East Bay. The cabins are furnished with a full bathroom, kitchen, and all the amenities like high-speed internet and are clean following CDC guidelines. Staying at Haybale Heights gives you full access to a private boat launch, fish cleaning station, and beach area. Learn more at haybaleheights.com. That's haybaleheights.com. Plan your trip to legendary Devil's Lake today. Sporting Journal Radio is a division of Macaba LLC. If you've got a question, comment, or story idea for us, send us an email. Go to sportingjournalradio.com. While you're there, you can learn how to advertise on the show and visit our store for hats, hoodies, coffee mugs, and more. Go to sportingjournalradio.com.